Hello?
Hello.
You're muted, John.
Hi.
That makes sense. All right.
Jefferson.
Hi, this is Sally Somsel.
Hi, Sally.
Sally. Recognize the
Teresa,
accent.
how are you?
Hi,
Good, how
Paul.
are you, John?
I see you can't see me, so I can keep eating.
What are we having?
We're actually having leftover birthday desserts made by Jennifer Dance. It's quite delicious.
Mm.
Mm.
I'm having tacos.
Oh, I had that first.
I've got to apologize to everybody. I'm going to have to leave at about 6:15. I've got another meeting yet this evening, so,
Oh,
but I did want you to know I cared.
well, geez. What'd you do before you retired?
What did I do before I retired?
Yeah, because you're doing all these meetings now.
I know, it's fine. I'm very happy doing this. So it's better than sitting around.
Yeah. I'll stop my video so I can eat my tacos too.
You know what, folks? When, if it warms up next week and we're going to have another meeting, we should just have it on my porch. Why don't we do that?
Let's do that.
That's a great idea.
Teresa, you bring tacos.
Yeah.
Okay. I can do
You're
that.
optimistic, John, that it's going to warm up that much that quick. Teresa, it's telling me I'm in safe driving mode. What did I hit?
Safe driving mode. Wow. Are you driving, Sally?
No, I'm on my couch.
Sure you're not in the Tesla?
You're
Oh, now
couch-
I'm back.
are
I'm
you
back now.
channel surfing?
Oh, there's a reason I'm a PT, not anything more techie. No, I think I'm back.
There you go. You're there.
Okay. Well, I'm not quite sure. I thought,
Oh, it's
Ron, are you
6:01.
on?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Can you see me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Okay. Hey, welcome everyone. I appreciate you taking your time to join us and participate in this work. Thank you very much. I have an agenda there. It's a little bit outdated from some circumstances that have arisen, but it's something we can work from. I would like to bring to this committee's attention some things that I've learned in the last 24 hours and some details even yet in the last couple of hours. at our community forum answering questions related to the sale of the property, the proceeds, and how that might work, and what are the dedicated funds. I've not been through this process before in these kind of circumstances, but I was getting a feeling that I'm missing a piece. So I called the attorney for the district and went through some things, and I had an intention to talk about deed restrictions also, but I brought up the scenario that we have, and my suspicion or my gut feelings were accurate that the district would not be able to take this building down with bond funds and then turn around and sell the property, or sell the property. So the board has to they have a decision in front of them that they need to make. And that decision is continue as planned, as using the property for school use, which would include using the bond dollars, if successful, for demolition of the building. And talk about the green space, the original plan. And if the district decides to talk and continue to think about sale of the property, they will have to use their dedicated funds from their general fund to do so. And so that it's plain and simple between that decision at this point. So I apologize for not having the information prior to this. But I'm glad that I have it before we've gotten much further also. So the board will be meeting on Wednesday for a study session as scheduled. I plan on, we have some principal reports and so forth on the agenda, but this topic will also be part of the discussion for their study session. The difference between a study session and a board meeting is that there's no agenda items that are asked to be taken action on. It's just an opportunity to discuss and have conversation related to things that they might be making decisions on in the future, or learn about items. So the board will be meeting Wednesday. I've asked the attorney that I've been working with to join us during that study session by phone, and ask questions and have an understanding of the circumstance that we're in, and so that they can make that decision of bond funds and proceed, or the other direction of general fund and sale. And we're looking between $400,000 and $500,000 for taking the building down and getting the site back to a usable space. And that'll be the board's decision. I know they're unwavering about if the bond passes, that the building is coming down. And so they have to just decide what resource that they're going to use, and what the future is for the property. Any questions about this news? Don't leave me hanging.
I think everyone's just absorbing.
Yeah.
As we have been the past 24 hours along with you, Ron. It was a good catch. I'm glad that you were thinking about that. It's it kind of comes. Go ahead. Sorry.
I have some comments, but I don't know what direction this meeting's going to go in, so I don't know whether to make my comments now or at a later point in the meeting.
I don't think you can go wrong, Sally.
Okay, so my biggest concern with the prospect of that land being sold off is, especially with the remodel at the Kennedy building, you're going to lose the practice field at Kennedy. So Jefferson Field has been used as an overflow for soccer particularly. I mean, that's my kids' sport because soccer hasn't been able to get space anywhere else. So if we lose the Kennedy Field, where there's a lot of football practice going on there, and Jefferson gets sold off for whatever, then I don't feel like there's enough thought been to put into where practice fields are going to be, because I have been dropping Will off for Science Olympiad, and I was told that there's plenty of space at the high school for practice fields. Well, by the time you've put that new middle school gym in there and you've got the track down there, and I'm just concerned where practice fields are going to be if Jefferson becomes building lots.
Yes, so we have all of Sands Park to utilize, so we move the goals from, if this was the decision, we would move the goals to Sands Park from Jefferson, I'm sorry. And so we would be able to utilize that space there. And I know the city is working in cooperation to, whatever green spaces that are available to be used, that they're interested in helping and support and see what we can do with what the city has to offer.
Because I mean, I had heard that the city doesn't want to be responsible for managing another green space, and they
no one asked them to. This is our space. No one's
Okay.
asked them to do that.
Is anyone on the call from the city? Hmm.
Ron, if I can say a couple of things to this situation. If the building comes down, or when the building comes down.
Yeah.
We have a space where there is a practice field, there is a playground, there's room for a couple of tennis courts and so forth. And I'd be happy to present that plan that.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. I want to make sure that we air out the conversation related to the new news.
But
I've got those diagrams ready to share that you presented. So
but what I wanted to get through right now is that if the Jefferson site is left as a green space for now, it can always be turned into, developed into housing, a housing project later. But if it's developed into a housing project now, it obviously cannot be turned back into green space later.
I'm sorry to interrupt, and I hope I think again, Ron, we just need to be like super clear about what we learned.
yeah, so
Because I know it's like taken a lot in, and we just learned it ourselves. So I'm gonna be super blunt about this. We can't use that space. We can't sell that space off for housing, and we can't, because the school cannot do that, because this is all wrapped up in our bond right now. So we can't use our funds from if the bond passes, we cannot use those funds from the bond to tear that building down. So we're planning on using basically general funds because we want that building to come down. But then we cannot then turn around and sell that property. The district cannot turn around and sell that property and like basically make a profit from something that we received bond funds for. Is that?
yeah, technically until the bonds are paid off.
Okay,
So
so
there's a 25-year term on that.
okay,
So we're at a kind of a position, the board has to make a decision, bond funds, green space, and that's what it is. And, or
so
general
it's made that decision for us, which is, it depends on how you look at it, because that's great news for people who wanted that green space there. So that's kind of made that decision for us, which is good, I guess, in a way, right?
Well, believe me,
I know.
Sally, I'm trying to suggest that there are some options. They have been looked at. I'm not sure high school is too feasible, but there is some space, and we're going to do some improvement out of general fund on a couple of those fields. The football practice field, we'd like to be getting in a condition that it could be used by MRA, and that it drains water better and it can be used more frequently. But I'm not here to support one direction or the other. And especially with this this development, this is clearly a board decision, and it's significant. And if the board's asking, well, what do you think? That kind of expenditure out of general fund is something really to consider, and that we're investing in that kind of money into development that might not happen for a while. So, I think we need to, I'm advising the board to be very careful with that idea that somehow we'll get our money back in a hurry or in a timely way. I think they need to take that into deep consideration. I would be openly concerned about that, but the board is independent of me, and they can vote and make a decision. But I would be a little bit concerned, as for my advice, to have that kind of capital outlay to do that. So kind of where we're at.
So just to clarify, in the bond proposal, it's taking down the Jefferson building, and sort of like leveling it and making it tidy. It is, what else is in the bond proposal for the Jefferson?
That's basically it, making it tidy, making it a green space, a blank slate. The parking lot will be there. The playground will be there. We'll have to make that accessible by code, the playground and whatever we have. But that is, depending on what bid comes back for taking it down, will let us know what kind of extra money that we may have to support the facility or the property.
So as long as the bond goes through, that's the plan. What is it that the board have got to decide on, whether that stays in the bond proposal, or?
No,
I'm not quite sure of that piece.
Yeah, so if the board would like to potentially sell the property, they cannot use that bond money to take that building down.
Okay.
Because
And
they're
then it would cost $1 million to take the building down, so that money would have to come from somewhere else.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's my comments to, I think the board should be careful about thinking through that expenditure, and they will. Anything else? Randy, was that you that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So my understanding is the board, before we make a recommendation or even listen to what Pat has to say, what he's done so far, really the school board needs to decide, are we going to keep the current proposal with the bond and just take it down and create green space, or do we explore the possibility of the school board explores the possibility of, if we were to sell that property, what would the proceeds be based on what Pat's findings are? And then what is the cost of it? And does that make sense to move forward that way? Or does it just make sense to move forward with the green space? I think that's what Sally's
Right.
Yeah.
And
clarification.
I think what I don't want, and I know this board doesn't, not to take that building down when we have the money or the community approval, and leave a standing building in that neighborhood or any standing building in this community. We've learned our lessons from that. We shouldn't take any risks. And so they have to make a decision not to hold on to the building and see what happens, kind of thing, because that's expensive to take it down. I think they've either got to decide, we're spending the money, it's coming down, and we're going to put it up for sale because we used our own money, or move forward with the bond, taking it down, and the story's over, only to continue to talk about green space.
Mhm.
Sound clear?
I'm understanding of it. Yep.
Yep. So, I've asked, I think Sean and or Patrick from Spicer are on here. All I've asked them to share tonight is a general outline of the property that they surveyed. We talked about maybe developing some hypotheticals, but at this point, I don't think that's rational until the board makes some sort of decision or movement. I just think that kind of conversation or going into that rabbit hole isn't productive, or it's not time. We shouldn't do that until the board makes a decision. I think that's just fair to their process and fair to us as a committee. How do you feel about that? As a committee, any sound off on that? Yeah, I appreciate that. So why don't I just skip to the timeline of this? Like I said, Wednesday, the board is going to be in a study session, and they are going to, now they're allowed to be back in person for the meeting. We're going to use the auditorium because it's a larger room and spacing can occur. And they are going to hear what basically I've heard from the attorney, which would allow them to ask deeper questions that I may not be able to answer accurately. So we'll have that attorney on the phone, and the board will have a conversation. As I said, it's a study session, so they won't be taking any action, but I think it's a good learning process, and they can have conversation related to it and see where it goes. So that's the timeline. If the board decides, no matter what their decision is, I would like to meet prior to the board meeting if this committee feels necessary, or wait till the board has made some sort of vote or commitment on this decision. And their board meeting is the second Wednesday of April. Trying to find a date. So I'm asking feedback from the committee. You want to meet before the board has an opportunity to make a decision, or after?
April 7th.
Say after.
After.
Okay.
After, yeah.
Well, my concern, Ron, is that I just want to make sure that we can get the information out to the board about the work that we've done so far.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. I will. Yep.
I may sound a little pushy on this, but I don't think it hurts for the board to be informed about that plan, even if it's not been formally voted on, or just as a one idea.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to present a housing idea either.
Right.
You know what I mean? So do I present you and not them, or them and not you? I'm trying to be fair to the process. I know what you'll answer, Vidar. But we're going to see it tonight for sure. And I have the board president is joining us, and Teresa, who's on the board too, so that they'll be able to make the decision if they would like that as part of the board meeting. So the president will view it, and then he'll let me know if to have it on the agenda or not. And it's Mr. Thompson, if you comfortable with that. If we'll see it tonight, and Vidar's done some great work. He has a very good diagram, and I think the expense of what he's suggesting is low. And I think conceptually, it's something that would work really well on that property. So let's take a look at it. I'd like to see the survey, and then Vidar, could you share after we see the survey?
Sure.
Okay. So I moved the meeting on to Sean, and I saw Pat's name up there. So one of you to grab a hold and move us.
All right, you've got both of us. We're both here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So to start off with, let me see if I can share. There we go. Can you guys see that?
Not yet. Ken, you're the, are you able to share, give rights to share to the gentleman?
He should have rights. I just checked.
There we go. How about now?
There you
It's
go.
coming.
There it
Ready to
is.
go. Yep.
Okay. This is a draft copy of the survey that we are currently working on. It is not complete. We have ordered title work. There are 4 parcels that combined form the Jefferson School area here that is owned by Manistee Area Public Schools. The title work, what we were looking for was the vested deeds, as well as any easements that affect the property. The final drawing will take into account the deeds, as well as show any of the easements that exist. We know for a fact, working close to the city, that there is a sewer easement that from the end of Locust Street, coming from the south, cuts across property up towards Cedar in the northwest corner. So just to kind of give you a brief look at kind of what we've got going here, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And we'll start with the easiest parcel. There are 2 lots on the east side of Elm Street that are owned by the school district. Those are pretty straightforward for us to survey. They're vacant. There's nothing on them. The other 3 parcels are, let's see if I can get this all in on the screen. You guys can see. The other 3 then come along be the north line of these couple residential lots, and then go north along the side. Can you guys see the cursor as I'm moving that around?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. They run along the north line of these residential lots, up along the side of Locust, and then again cut across. There's some old streets and some old plats here that were vacated years ago, over to Cedar, up to Bryant, back to Elm, and then back down. Within that, you can see there's the current parking, which is all of the asphalt that we surveyed is in gray. We have a lighter hatch on any of the concrete, so you can see the sidewalks, along the street, which are in the right of way, as well as those in and around the building itself. And then the building doesn't jump right out at you, but it has this slight hatch to it, or the buildings, I should say. There are here, and another one here on the edge of that parking lot. So our job was just simply to determine the boundary, and then this drawing is just going to show the facts. And the facts being, here's where the playground equipment is, here's where the parking lot is, here's where the boundaries are, here's where the utilities are that go around it. And then once we receive the title work from the title company, we will also be showing data dimensions going around it and any of the easements that affect the property. Those will be drawn in on this before I finalize it. Questions?
Is there any utilities that from the city that are underneath or run through this property at all?
We do know that there is an easement that comes from the north end of Locust and then cuts diagonally over to somewhere in the Cedar Plant corner. I don't know specifically where that's at, but we do know that exists. Take a look here. We know that there's you've got some storm drains that take rainwater and pull those away from. Looks like we've got a catch basin in the parking lot, feeds this manhole, which feeds here, which ultimately comes up to the city. We didn't have the sanitary stuff at the time. There was snow on the ground back at the day that Jared was out doing all of the mapping. So we probably will have a return trip where he can locate those sanitary manholes that I am quite certain do exist cut across the property. And Sean probably can speak to that better than I can.
Just a couple of things on the utilities outside of Pat mapping them out. When the city did their last sewer separation project, the benefit to the site is the utilities that are there, the sanitary and the storm are relatively new compared to other utilities in the city. There's, if you were to go the route that has to go down and everything yet, there's an opportunity to maybe utilize some of those possibly. And that would probably depend on how they would conflict with any subdividing of the property if you're going that housing route. But in either case, even the green space route, you have some good utilities on site regardless. And that's water, that's the same storm sewer side. Water main.
I'm sorry, Sean. Everyone put their microphone on mute, so that might help the chop up, but a little bit hard to hear, Sean. Sorry.
Oh, okay. You might have our connection here too. We've had some issues with our Wi-Fi here in the office recently. But those sanitary and storm, there's good pipes out there basically could be reutilized if the condition makes sense. And water main, there's a water main that comes up in the south on Locust and ends at the end of Locust. And if you did any kind of development or anything in the future, split this out, you need to extend the water main, through development. Kind of undoing what was undone a long time ago and it's open in. I think everybody's there, but Locust went through, and the utilities went through, and those were cut off and short back up, and you'd be in a back. But that's and gas in the private utilities. Mapping on those.
The private gas, telephone, electric, we could request plans from the providers, and those will be shown as well.
Pat, I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Your drawing shows the vacated Locust Street. I'm somewhat familiar with that. Is there ever a case where the city, because it's been vacated and it's been probably a court order, does that ever get rebuilt then that you've ever heard of?
It can. There's a process to go through, basically turn it back over to public right away. At this point, I guess I'm trying to think of an example where that's been done, and I can't. But I'm thinking that it would just be a case of, the developer or the school, if you like Sean says, if you decide to go that route, that might be a really good question for legal counsel on that one. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I can provide the district bond funds or general funds are not allowed to use for that kind of development. So it wouldn't be that wouldn't be provided by the district by law.
No.
Any other questions for the gentleman? And we're basically looking at a piece of property that we kind of all know the dimensions to. It does sound like there are some utilities that even with green space and utilities and other circumstance that may have to be dealt with into the future for both kinds of uses for that property. Is that a good general statement, guys?
Very good. Yes.
Okay. All right. There's no other questions. Sounds like we're waiting for some title work and some other information that will be added to this drawing. Is that some of that information?
That's correct. Yeah, we wanted to get a draft in your hands just to show you that we've made some progress, kind of where we were at. It seems like everything nowadays takes a little longer to happen, and title work is really no different. So Randy can attest to that, I'm sure. But we can, as soon as we get that, the cat tech, she's very quick with putting that stuff on here, and we'll get it finalized and out to you.
Well, I appreciate you guys getting your portion of that done quickly for us and providing us what you got so far. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Are we ready to move on from that? Any other questions? All right. I'll ask Vidar, you ready? I have our tech person, Ken, is going to put your stuff up. And what one would you like to see first? The drawing and the narrative that went with it, or just the plain drawing?
Just the plain drawing.
Okay, all right. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it away.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Yeah. With the news that we got today, I don't think I should go into great detail about this. So I'll try to be brief, and Paul may want to complement or add to what I'm saying. But quickly, I think the Jefferson site, after the building is gone, will be one of the great resources of Manistee. It can develop into something that we have not seen before in the city. And I'll try to explain that. So there are sort of three levels to this. One is the neighborhood. The neighborhood would, maintain the playground and the vegetation, the trees, existing trees, and the natural beauty of the site. But for the school district, I think it opens up really many possibilities for the future. One is the athletic fields. Number 7 here is the existing athletic field, can be used for soccer or football or other things. It's just a green plain. Number 5 on the drawing shows, just as an illustration, 2 double tennis courts, what kind of size that would require. Number 1 is a mowed path that would be 8 foot wide, approximately, run around. It can be used for walking dogs, skiing in the winter. There's also a possibility of putting in a series of equipment here that for all ages to do some exercising along that path. And the number 2 then is a grass field. It's thought as a research field, actually, because there is among the faculty, there is expertise on pretty advanced expertise, as I understand it, on the study of grasses, native grasses, and possibly also other types of brushes and trees and bushes that are, lack of a better word, deer resistant. So number 3 here is thought of as a demonstration garden, idea garden, where people could see many different types of bushes and trees and plants that are deer resistant and therefore could be used in landscaping their lots. So that is really just a quick overview. So for the school district, this opens up the possibilities of not only athletics, but also research into natural sciences, and something that might not be available on other sites near Kennedy or the high school. But for the city, this could develop into something that's really could put, become known as something special for Manistee. Along the line of, I've mentioned a couple of other examples. Midland has built a very interesting, beautiful park with some canopy bridges and things that are very unique as far as I understand. Tulsa, Oklahoma has a very large place called the Gathering Place that has put really Tulsa on the map again. And so there are many examples. These are just a couple of examples. So what I'm thinking is that by developing something like this is adding to the attractiveness of Manistee, and that is what could attract more people to Manistee, rather than just thinking that if you provide lots, then people will come and build houses and start working here. Well, there are already a number of vacant lots in town. I own a double one on the corner of Maple and Fifth. And our plan, my wife and I, was to build our home there. We couldn't do it because no one wanted to build it for less than $500 a square foot, which we couldn't afford. So I think that there are so many, there's such a great potential here that if we just decide not to sell it now, then we can work on this and create something that's unique. And as for, I know the city doesn't want to spend more money on parks, and I understand that. But I think, and I did a little bit of research, and I think there are a number of possibilities for grant money for a thing like this. And if we put our heads together and start looking around and searching for grant money, I think we could find many sources. And like Ron said, this is a low investment, low cost idea, and it can be developed over time. So that's pretty much the quick presentation. Thank you.
First, thank you for taking the time to put this in. And I know that quite a bit of research and thought. I know you spoke with Kevin Postma, our in-house expert. He is with deep credentials, and he would describe the area number 2 as an example of carbon relief for the future, that these type of grasses consume quite a bit of carbon also. So I thought I'd throw that pitch in for Kevin too. But I agree. What you've gotten here is unique and something that maybe is not an example of a use of space in the city. And I think it serves multiple age groups potentially and offer multiple kinds of experiences. So any questions for Fedor?
I would just say thank you for the effort. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. I would, we're at the point of the meeting to, I guess, reinforce that the board has a decision before them. And I know Board President Thompson joined this meeting, and our neighborhood friend Teresa Anderson is here from the board. And I know they appreciate taking in this information. I know they appreciate your efforts on this. And I know they'll take that information to the board and make it part of their decision-making process. Anything else to add, anyone? As sounds like the next meeting will be after the board has made an official decision. Thumbs up with that, that's our understanding, okay. And any other thoughts or anything else to add? Teresa, anything before we're off?
No, just thanks to everyone for attending, and Vidar, that's a beautiful plan, and I know I think Dr. Gunderson worked on that too, and thank you for that. Lot to think about, lot to consider.
Thanks. And Ron, I'd just like to say, this is Jim Thompson, that I do appreciate everybody's time and effort into this, and coming up with these drawings, and Pat and your group dealing with the surveys. It's very much appreciated. It gives the board information they need to make an informed decision, and I think that's important.
Okay, for this group, this is the last swipe at board members and thoughts and ideas, so. Can't say thanks enough. I really appreciate it, and look for an invitation for upcoming meeting. I'm going to schedule it no matter what decision is made. And so look for an invitation for our next meeting, and pencil in the date following the board meeting. I think Teresa said maybe the 7th?
April 8th.
April 8th, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
luck
you.
in your deliberation.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening, please.
Thanks.